Dragon Ball Tyrant here to do my next movie review. Actually, my first movie review. I haven't done any reviews of any sorts on this channel, and I'm here to do my review of Dragon Ball Super Broly. It's a long-awaited movie by many fans, including myself. So here's how I'll break it out. First, I'm going to talk about what I liked, then I'm going to talk about what I didn't like, and then how this ties in, and the retcons, and the potential for future in the series of Dragon Ball, and it's pretty exciting. First, I did want to mention this was the very first Dragon Ball Super movie. The two prior movies were Dragon Ball Battle Gods, Dragon Ball Z Battle Gods, and Dragon Ball Z Resurrection F. And both those shows predated Dragon Ball Super, and their success led to the creation of Dragon Ball Super. And Akira Toriyama has already confirmed that if Dragon Ball Super Broly is successful, then we'll see another series on the other end of its run. I talked about this before in one of my previous videos, but you know, Masuko Nozawa is getting a little older. She's in her 80s, and she can't do it forever. So the next Dragon Ball Z series, or sorry, faux pas. Sorry, Freudian slip. I meant the next Dragon Ball series we'll see might be the last one, and that's okay. You know, all great things must come to an end, and I'm hoping we can end this on a great note. Jumping into our review, things I liked. I'm going to talk about first, then I'll talk about things I didn't like, and then just how this ties in. I already mentioned that. Things I liked. The animation was incredible. It was. I got out of seeing it about an hour ago. I'm still kind of mentally recovering. I still feel like I rode a roller coaster for 2 hours. It was very fast-paced, very beautiful, very big budget. Perhaps the biggest budget movie Dragon Ball's ever made, even when they did that Dragon Ball movie with Studio Ghibli. And Tetsuya Nagamine, butchering his name, but he's an incredible animator, and just seeing the movie now makes everyone who ever complained about the look of the teaser trailer of Goku not looking like Goku did in Dragon Ball Super or Dragon Ball Z. But all of those concerns are just relieved by this movie, because the action in this movie flows so nicely. It even just the scenes where characters are talking to each other, it really catches your eye, and it's so smooth and fluent. It almost looks like video. And there were some CG elements to the movie, but that was pretty much seamless, and it looked pretty great. Likewise, additional to the music, there was also the soundtrack and the sound design of the movie, which was really great, and that's why I encourage all of you, if you haven't seen the movie yet, why haven't you? Please hurry up and watch it, because it's definitely a movie that is best suited for a movie theater. Like, it's really just encapsulating when you're watching it. And other things, like, obviously it's a Dragon Ball movie, so I like that it's Dragon Ball, but one thing this movie does is it adds a whole lot to the Dragon Ball story in many ways. Past, present, and future, and I can talk more about that on the other end of this review when I talk about spoiler stuff and just the retcon stuff that happened in the movie. So if you want to hear all that stuff, stick around. And story-wise, honestly, I'd give it an A, near A+, but I drop it a couple points in my score due to what I didn't like about the movie, which I'll talk about now. So the story did add a lot to Broly's character, but once you got to the final battle scene between Broly and our heroes, Vegeta and Goku, Broly basically loses a lot of his death. But if you're a Dragon Ball fan, you've probably seen a Broly movie. The Broly you see in this movie is not the same Broly in those movies, obviously because of the retconning. But the Broly you see in the fight scene is way more similar to that Broly than the Broly you see in the first half of the movie. And honestly, if you're watching the English dub, poor Vic Mignogna, he had to scream so many times in that booth because he does not really stop screaming for that final battle scene. And they did bring Broly back at certain parts in the movie, but I'm not going to spoil any of that for you. You just have to see it for yourself. Now, back to story stuff, I'm going to talk about how this ties into the rest of the Dragon Ball universe and the retcons that happen. As I mentioned, that they added a lot to the story in this movie, and they do solve a lot of the issues that were presented in previous iterations of Dragon Ball prior to this movie. I'll just say Akira Toriyama grew wise to some of his shortcomings and used stories developed by other writers, which would be the writers of the Bardock special and the writers of the Broly movie. And he took their stories and made those stories a whole lot better, and he made those stories true stories, because the Bardock special was never true. It was always referenced, but it wasn't fact. It was totally like, this is what probably happened, like a what if. And Toriyama actually himself wrote Dragon Ball Minus, which is reiterated here in this movie. If you read Dragon Ball Minus, you're seeing parts of what was in Dragon Ball Super Broly. If you haven't, it's a great comic, rather manga, that fleshes out Bardock a whole lot more, and you get to meet Gine, who's Goku's mom, and Raditz's mom. But here's spoiler territory. You get to learn a whole lot about the Saiyans, and from the beginning part of this movie, it solves one of Dragon Ball's biggest shortcomings, was the emotional impact of the death of the Saiyans isn't present because you as the audience, grow to hate the Saiyans in the first 50 episodes of Dragon Ball Z. But from this movie, you gain a lot of emotional attachment to the Saiyans, because you learn about how they were basically enslaved by the Cold Race, and things definitely took a turn once Frieza came in power, and it demonstrated that amazingly. And also, additional to the adding of the Saiyan story, Bardock's story is Broly's story is a whole lot more compelling, because King Vegeta basically sent him off to a planet to go die by himself, and Paragus goes and finds him, and they end up stranded on that planet because the ship got broken in and them landing there, and that really strengthens Paragus's resolve for revenge, and that was very compelling. And additional to the retcons, at the end of the movie, I'm going to try not to spoil this as much as I can, but at the end of the movie there's a scene with Goku and a scene with Frieza, and both scenes talk about the potential future of the Dragon Ball series, and way things could be headed, and that's really exciting. And I really am hoping that Akira Toriyama is able to write a compelling and poetic close to the wonderful story of Dragon Ball before Masuko Nozawa retires.